Hello everyone, I am Sneha and I am from Christian Group of Institutions. Today, me and my friend Sharmila is going to explain about the topic hypermetropia. So, before going to the topic of hypermetropia, I would like to explain about emmetropia. Emmetropia means it is a refractive error of the eye. In other words, we can explain emmetropia as parallel rays of light which is coming from infinity will fall either in front of the retina or in back of the retina. I will show you a ray diagram of normal eye and light falling in front of the retina and in back of the retina. It is a normal eye in which light is falling on the retina so that whatever we are seeing with the images will appear as clear image. But in the case of light falling in front of the retina and in back of the retina, whatever we are seeing will appear as blurred. In the first image, the light is falling in front of the retina, and in the second image, the light is falling in back of the retina. So whatever images we are seeing, it will appear as blurred image. Now, I am going to my topic, hypermetropia. Hypermetropia, it is also called as hyperopia or farsightedness. Farsightedness means whatever we are seeing at a distance will appear clear to our eyes. But what we are seeing what we are seeing very clear, very near to us will not appear as clear. Now I am going to discuss about types of hypermetropia. First, we are going to classify hypermetropia according to the etiological causes. The first type is axial hypermetropia. In axial hypermetropia, the total refractive power of the eye will be normal, that is 60 diopters. But when we are going to the axial length of the eyeball, there will be shortening in the axial length. The normal axial length is 24 mm. But in the case of axial hypermetropia, the axial length is less than 24 mm. The second classification is curvatural hypermetropia. In curvatural hypermetropia, the curvature of cornea and the lens or both the curvatures can be flatter than the normal. The third classification is index hypermetropia. In index hypermetropia, there will be change in the refractive index of the lens. The fourth classification is positional hypermetropia. In positional hypermetropia, there will be displacement for the crystalline lens. And the last classification is aphakia. Aphakia means absence of lens. It can be either congenital or acquired. Congenital means by birth and acquired means after birth. Now, my friend Sharmila is going to explain the clinical types, signs and symptoms of hypermetropia.
Hi, I'm Sharmila. I'm going to explain about hypermetropia, clinical types, symptoms, and signs. First, clinical types of hypermetropia. There are three clinical types of hypermetropia: simple hypermetropia, pathological hypermetropia, and functional hypermetropia. Simple hypermetropia. It can occur due to axial or refractive error. Normal optical variations are observed in this case. Pathological hypermetropia caused by ocular abnormalities, diseases, or trauma. Functional hypermetropia. It results from the paralysis of accommodation. Refractive error based classification. There are three types: low hyperopia, moderate hyperopia, high hyperopia. Low hyperopia. It causes an error or +2 diopter or less. Moderate hyperopia. Error ranges from +2.25 diopter to +5 diopter. High hyperopia. The error exceeds +5 diopter. Structure-based classification. Two types are there. One, facultative hyperopia and absolute hyperopia. Facultative hyperopia, it can be resolved by accommodation. Absolute hyperopia, it cannot rectified by accommodation. Most common symptoms in hypermetropia. Hyperopia is characterized by problems in viewing distant objects. Few symptoms of the disease is objects located at distance look blurred, nearby objects seem normal, tiredness and strain in the eyes that is called asthenopia symptom, lazy eye, problems in three-dimensional vision, two eyes do not work together, it can lead to crossed eye, watering of eyes, recurrent headaches, uncomfortable vision in general, loss of vision is end of the stage. Clinical picture symptoms. In patient with hypermetropia, symptoms varies depending upon age of the patient and degree of refractive error. Number 1, asymptomatic. A small amount of refractive error is in young patients is usually corrected by mild accommodative efforts without any symptoms. Number 2, asthenopic symptoms. At times, the hypermetropia is fully corrected, but due to sustained accommodative efforts, the patient develops asthenopic symptoms. These include tiredness of eyes, watering, frontal or frontotemporal headache, and mild photophobia. Number 3, defective vision with asthenopic symptoms. When the amount of hypermetropia is such that it's not fully corrected by voluntary accommodative efforts, then the patient complains defective vision more for near than distance associated with asthenopic symptoms due to sustained accommodative efforts. Number 4, defective vision only. When the amount of hypermetropia is high, more than 4D, the patient do not accommodate, especially adults, and there occurs marked defective vision for near and distance. Number 5, the effect of aging on vision. There occurs a loss of accommodative power with aging. To start with, near visual acuity blurs at a younger age than in the immetrop. Number 6, intermittent sudden blurring of vision may occur due to spasm of accommodation, including pseudomyopia. Such condition is detected by cycloplegic refraction, which reveals the underlying hyperopia. Number 7, crossed eye sensation. Some patients may feel that their eyes are crossing without any diplopia. It also occurs due to excessive accommodation. Signs of hypermetropia. Number 1, size of eyeball may be normal or appear small. Number 2, cornea may be slightly smaller than the normal. Number 3, anterior chamber is comparatively shallow and the angle is narrow. Number 4, visual acuity varies with the degree of hypermetropia and power of accommodation. Number 5, a scan ultrasonography may reveal a short anterior-posterior length of the eyeball.
As Sharmila has explained about the clinical types, signs and symptoms of hypermetropia, now I am going to discuss about how we can diagnose hypermetropia. There are different methods to diagnose hypermetropia. Some of the methods include visual acuity test, keratometry, corneal topography, and retinoscopy. Now we can discuss how hypermetropia can be treated. There are treatments like optical correction and surgical correction. In optical treatment, it includes prescription of spectacle lenses, contact lenses, etc. In surgical treatment, it includes LASIK and PRK. LASIK means laser assisted in situ keratomilitius. In this procedure, the surgeon will remove the layers of the cornea at the center. And an excimer laser is used to remove the layers of the cornea to increase the curvature. After the procedure has been done, the corneal flap is placed back. In PRK, the surgeon removes the corneal epithelium and the new corneal epithelium will grow according to the new shape of the cornea. Now, we can discuss about what are the complications related to hypermetropia. In adults, there won't be much complications compared to children. In children, there are chances of higher complications. Some of the complications include lazy eye or amblyopia. Amblyopia means decreased eyesight, and they will have learning problems and delay in development. Now we are going to see some health tips for hypermetropia. Some of the health tips include we should go for routine eye checkups, consume diet rich in vitamin A and C, drink adequate amount of water and avoid UV exposure to our eye. Direct UV exposure to our eye can cause macular degeneration, cataracts, etc. And chronic disease conditions like diabetes, hypertension, etc. should be managed properly. And symptoms like blurred vision, black spot should not be ignored. We should ensure proper illumination for reading and doing some works. By this, we came to an end for our topic hypermetropia. Thank you.